We continue our exploration of the NBA gambling scandal by taking a short look at the history of gambling scandals in basketball. Clients Tip of the Day. This is the podcast where we bring you daily insights and practical advice on navigating the ever-evolving landscape of compliance requirements. Whether you're a seasoned compliance professional or just starting your journey, my aim in this podcast is to provide you with a bite-sized, actionable tip to help you stay on top of your compliance game. And now I'd like to say a few words about the latest podcast on the Compliance Podcast Network, AI Today in 5 with 5. Thrilled to announce the inaugural episode of my latest podcast series, AI Today in 5. I wanted to do a short, curated set of stories and news stories about AI for the compliance professional and the greater business professional. You can check it out on Megaphone, the Compliance Podcast Network, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Apple, or wherever great podcasts are listened to. Check out AI Today in 5. Unfortunately, gambling scandals have been on the radar and horizon of basketball, both at the college and pro level, basically since the game became so popular. And today we're going to take a look at some of the top ones over the years and see what data we can mine from it. So the first major gambling scandal involved CCNY, Kentucky, and some other schools in the early to mid-50s. And this was the first time that the mob really was able to shepherd its way or move its way into point shaving. And it was so bad, CCNY dropped their entire basketball program, and Kentucky was banned for a season. Next up, in the late 70s, the mob returned in a scandal involving Boston College. This was memorialized in the movie Goodfellas, where Henry Hill and Jimmy Burke recruited players to manipulate game outcomes for their syndicate. Next, in the 90s, there was Arizona State, which had a point-shaving scandal reflected in but the interesting thing was the evolution from local bookies to national betting markets, and it was these national betting markets that were able to determine wild betting line swings, which drew the attention of sports books who reported the unusual activity to the FBI. And this was clearly transparency through data can be a safeguard if properly used. The NBA's biggest scandal to date had been the Tim Donaghy scandal. He was a referee who bet on games and pled to 2 federal charges about transmitting information and then a wire fraud charge. He bet on games he officiated, and he provided insider information to gamblers about injuries, officiating crews, and game dynamics. In the modern era, we've had both Jonte Porter and Terry Rozier now in a second player information material, non-public information scandal, where they indicated that they would be pulling themselves out of games early for, and you could bet the under. Really, there are a couple of thoughts that are clear from each generation of betting scandals. Number one, information is the key, and information advantage if it's exploited for profitability, that's where you have a real problem. Second is ethical rationalization. Point shaving is really not cheating. It's just not hitting every shot. And that's a culture and educational issue. And finally is the compliance lag. Oversight only comes after the fact. That's something that the NBA is going to have to deal with. So what are today's 3 key takeaways? Number 1, gamblers have always been a risk. But that leads to number 2, what's the highest risk now? And that may be these prop bets. And then number 3, what is the role of education in training basketball players to not simply not give out material non-public information, but to be alerted to people who may be nosing around and asking suspicious questions? And I'm happy to do for you, the compliance profession, is if you have a question or a series of questions you would like some compliance tips on, I'm happy to take any requests that you might want, certainly anonymize them, and give you a quick tip, either one quick tip or maybe a week's worth of quick tips. So if you have any tips you want about your compliance program, you can shoot me an email at tfox@tfoxlaw.com. This podcast was created and produced